Hello, teacher. In this video, I'll talk about my lesson plan number 2. The topic is time expression. For example, when, start, finished, recently, eventually, before, after, finally. The grade of this lesson plan is First Baccalaureate of 8th Basic Education. Duration of the class is 45 minutes. The proficiency level is elementary A2.2. The Common European Framework of Reference for Language, CEFR, is an international standard for describing language ability. The objectives during this lesson: students will be able to, for listening, there are many words and expressions to refer to time. The students can use these to sequence events and to make stories and anecdotes more interesting. For grading, to write and learn new vocabulary. For reading, the students can read a little paragraph using the time expression. For speaking, the students can speak sentences and analyze the grammatical structure using the time expression. Methodology and strategies. I define learning methodology simply as your strategic understanding of how you receive information to the best learn. For this reason, I use the deductive approach, often fits into a lesson structure known as PPP. Acronym stands for Presentation, Practice, and Production. Each letter means a stage of the learning process. The first stage is called presentation, where the teacher gives explanation on the topic. The practice stage is the time for the students to use the language in a semi-controlled activity. And the production stage gives the students the opportunity to use the language freely. On the other hand, the strategy I use is of predictable routines and signals in the classroom are highly important in structuring a positive and nurturing environment and the reducing anxiety of English language learning. In anticipatory set, students should note the parts of paragraph. This point is very important because a paragraph has 3 main parts. The first part is the topic sentences. It's called the topic sentences because it tells the topic or main idea of the paragraph. The second main part of the paragraph is the subordinate sentences. The subordinate sentences develop the topic. That means they explain or prove the topic sentences. Some paragraphs also have the concluding sentences. The concluding sentence summarizes the paragraph and may end final comments or idea from the writer. Main teaching input. For where amp or let in grade the students, show the expression to attach ideas smoothly to signpost to chronological sequence of events. The text. I used the book English Unified General Baccalaureate Student Book and Workbook. I work on page 14 and 15. English Student Book. Read text below and identify the heading for each section of the context. Answer the questions. Read and choose the correct expression. English Workbook. Work on the book and learn different time expressions. For example, as a child, once, was the time, eventually, when, was. In clarification, check the answer of the book with the students using the presentation. After that, explain my supplementary materials. I create my PowerPoint presentation in where explain different time expression. And modeling. Write a short autobiography. Use the time expression above to organize your ideas chronologically. guided practice. The students can practice when write a short autobiography chronologically. Of course, using time expression. For example, the teacher gives ideas for created paragraph, place, date of birth, significant people, moments, places in childhood, significant people, moments in elementary school. Independent practice. The students write a list of time expression, minimum 20 time expression. Assessment. Student participation and review the short autobiography with the correct time expression. And closely review and follow up. The students can read aloud your paragraph. They can practice the correct pronunciation. For supplementary material, I created my PowerPoint presentation where explain the students' different time expression. For example, the present permanent. Use the present simple tense to refer to permanent situation in the present. I know live in a small town. Nowadays, I live in a small town. This day, I don't have much social life. Temporary. I use present continuous tenses to refer to temporary situation in the present, at the moment, for the time. Other time expression is the past, in Tuesday, back then, at that time. Talking about a single event in the past, for example, at one time, the sentence is she lost her door key and had to stand in a hotel. On one occasion, sequencing events in the past. There are many ways to sequence events in the past. Here are some of more common ones. For example, after in the middle of the sentences. After 10 words, after that, after a while, at the beginning of the sentences. Then, before, in the middle, or at the beginning of the sentences. Before that, previously, until then, at the beginning of a sentences. But the time, in the middle of the sentences, followed by a past perfect tense. By then, by that time, at the beginning of the sentences. Other expressions to refer the next event in a story. For example, later on, before long, at that time, meanwhile, at the same time. Simultaneously is a more formal way of saying meanwhile at the same time. This is some examples where students can write your paragraph and write a list of time of sentences in the class. This is all. Thank you, teacher.